Hello, I'm Diane Godfrey, and I've been a elementary education teacher for 25 years, and I'm here today to show you and share with you a lesson called Where's Gizmo Now? How many of you have ever seen one of these lost dog posters? Well, I'm sure that you have, and I'm also sure that many of your students have. So this lesson is going to give you a chance to capitalize on their understanding of lost animals and how to find animals. One thing that's really important with young learners is that they have a vocabulary that highlights their spatial understanding so that they can give directions and build their geographic understanding. The purpose of this lesson will be to develop the use of spatial vocabulary to describe numbers and locations on a map. And they're going to be looking to find a lost cat. So our materials we're going to need for this lesson, we'll have a large map of a neighborhood that I will show you in just a second. You're going to need a large cat pattern, and I have here for you the large cat pattern and the small one that we're going to use. And there's also some vocabulary cards that will be used in this one. And of course we'll have a rubric at the end so that you can assess to see if your students are able to accomplish their objectives. Okay, our objectives in this lesson is that the students are going to be placing a cat pattern and positions on a map, and they're going to use clues that are given in a story that you'll read to them, and then they're going to verbally describe the locations using some of those spatial vocabulary words. They're going to fill in the missing number on a map, and they're going to be able to demonstrate this to you. So the first off we want to do is you want to kind of hook your students into it by briefly describing and discussing pets. Young learners and students will be really happy to share with you all about their pets. So then you can also move on and then start to talk with them about if anyone has ever lost one of their pets and what did they do about it. You could ask them if they've seen these kind of signs and have a sample of a lost dog sign. Okay. Some of the things that you're going to need in this lesson will be a map of the neighborhood. And in your materials you will have a large map that can be glued together that you can use for your sample and for your demonstration lessons with your students. You're also going to have inside of your materials a small copy of the neighborhood map. So the first thing you're going to want to do is on your large neighborhood map that you've glued together, which I have here for you, is that you're going to tell them that this family has lost their cat. And you're going to have the numbers on the map covered up, and I just covered them up by using some Velcro on the top of some construction paper. So we've got our map here. So the first thing you're going to do is show them the map and tell them that this map is a neighborhood for a lost pet. Have the children briefly identify the items that they see on the map. For example, they might say, here's a bridge. Here's a street. You want to make sure they understand this. Over here we have a trash can and we have some trees. So we have our map that looks like this for the students. Okay. Then as you're going to uncover one of the numbers and identify it as the address of 1 Orange Street. And this is the house where the family that has lost their cat live. Then the students would go ahead and you would say, okay, now if this is 1 Orange Street, what number do you think that this might be? And then they might say, oh, this should be 2, and then you can write the number 2 in there. And then they continue predicting, and they would count off to 3, and then 4, and then to 5, and write the number 5 in here, so students are having a chance to work with their numbers. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then all the numbers are revealed. The next thing you'll do with the what you'll have in here will be a little story that you'll read to the students, and I'll just read part of it to give you a feel for this lesson. And then you'll use one of your cat patterns to follow along where the lost cat is. So the story begins. There once was a little black cat named Gizmo. He lived at the house at 1 Orange Street with the Larson family. So you're going to place your cat pattern here on number 1. His family loved him very much. Gizmo was cute and cuddly. He played with his family. He watched TV with them, and he didn't even mind when they left a smelly sock or two on the floor. He loved spending time with the family and always waited for them at the door every time they returned home from shopping or work. One day, his family returned from a trip to McDonald's to find that he was not at the door. The cat was lost. His family was very worried. They looked everywhere in the house. They looked under the bed, where he liked to hide. And this is one of your vocabulary words, and you could point this out to the students. They looked everywhere in the house, under the bed, where he liked to hide, but he wasn't there. They looked over the fireplace, where he waited to pounce on them, but he wasn't there. They looked behind the couch, where he could be hunting for mice, but he wasn't there. They even looked in front of the computer, where he liked to drape himself while they worked, but he wasn't there. The Larson looked near and far, but Gizmo was nowhere to be found. Then they had an idea. They would put posters up all over the neighborhood. Someone who lived nearby might find Gizmo and call the Larsons to let them know where he was. So they put a sign everywhere in the neighborhood. As soon as they put up their posters, they got phone calls. The phone call came from people who lived at 3 Orange. They said they had seen Gizmo under the tree near their house. So the Larsons ran to see if Gizmo was there. But Gizmo had already left. They were very disappointed and returned home to see if anyone else would call. The phone rang again. This time the call was at family who lived at 5 Orange Street. They said they had seen a black cat Gizmo over the bridge to the other side of the street. And then you place Gizmo over the bridge. The story continues until they get all kinds of clues about where Gizmo was located, and they eventually find Gizmo at the end of the story, and that is how the students use the story to practice using the words over and under. So discuss with the students their responses where they think Gizmo was located. So you can move Gizmo where you'd like and have them practice using their vocabulary to tell you where Gizmo may be found. You're going to give students a smaller map to demonstrate the story, and then have them fill in the missing addresses so they can practice their numbers in sequence. As they are writing or gluing or drawing, have the students describe the locations using their vocabulary that's covered. And then as they're working on their own map where Gizmo may be found, then you're going to be able to walk around and use the assessment rubric to determine whether your students have been able to master the skills of using spatial vocabulary. So you can use this rubric to evaluate the geography standard, and the grade can be converted to a percentage however you'd like. The math standards can be evaluated using a percentage. There are 4 missing numbers. The student should be able to say and write correctly the 4 numbers that were missing, and with at least a 75% accuracy or higher. There are a lot of extensions that you could do with this lesson. You could take and have animals that you have placed around your classroom, and the students could practice then finding and using their vocabulary to find these lost pets in their classroom. You could also follow up with the lesson that's called Getting and Giving Help. So I hope that you'll be able to use this in your classroom. There are a lot of different things that you could do with it. You can continue on, put 2 maps together, do 1 through 20, a lot of other extensions and ideas for this. So hope you've enjoyed finding and helping Gizmo get back to his Larson family.